Corey Crowley, Republican strategist, back with us here as we rolled it all up. And so, Corey, your take on what we're going to see. And basically, this guy is running to become the nominee of your party in the next election. The implications of it. What do you think?
Well, not just running, Todd, but is the front runner. So the presumed nominee, as many people would say. So it's even a higher status than just being one of the 13 or 14 candidates in the Republican Party. We've been talking about Trump, you and I, and everyone around the world for almost 8 years now, and his political path, both as he looked at running for the presidency, ultimately ran and won, and ran again and lost. And I think it would be impossible to argue for a change of venue here where you could go anywhere where people wouldn't have their minds made up about Trump. Much as we've discussed on the political side of this versus the legal side, you either love Trump or you hate him. There's almost no one left in the middle. I mean, you would have to have been in a coma for the last decade to not have formed an opinion at this point. And certainly these latest rounds of charges are the most significant. I think if you start to see them gain legs, and of course today is just a procedural hearing, it'll be brief. He'll say that he pleads not guilty and they'll be in and out in probably under 30 minutes. But if you start to see this being the case that gains legs, I think that you'll see some of the others starting to slow down a bit in deference to the courts here in D.C., who are going to want to pursue this one and pursue it on a faster timeline than maybe you otherwise would be able to, so that they can get ahead of the elections next year.
Hey, Corey, I'm curious as well to get your read on how serious, as a Republican strategist, you think these charges actually are. When we talk about, the prosecution and what they've said in that indictment, 45 pages, basically saying that he lied, that he knew he lost and pretended he didn't lose, that he was undermining faith in the U.S. electoral process, doing a lot of damage, stoking a lot of anger as well. Your read on sort of the seriousness of what we're talking about here, because this is not hush money to an adult film star, and it's not the misplacement or mishandling of classified documents, although that too is serious, but this is sort of a different level.
Yeah, this is entirely different, Todd, because it's actually an undermining of democracy itself. It's an undermining of the very pillars of the United States government. And you're right. Lots of people have been accused of mishandling classified documents. Those are complicated matters. Most of the time they're fairly benign in the end. But this one's significant. And it's fundamentally significant, not just because you may be able to argue this was Donald Trump in free speech, like his lawyers are going to try to. You may be able to argue that he knew it was a really misplaced effort and it was never really serious and he was always going to leave power when he had to. But what his words have done is created a group of people in the United States, and a significant number of people in that group, who now legitimately believe that they can undermine on his behalf other elections. And that trickles down beyond the White House to local elections. And it creates a state of anarchy that you cannot have in a democratic republic like ours. And so while charging a former president is extremely touchy and very, very, you got to be careful about how you go about it, if left unchecked, it almost undermines democracy just by turning a blind eye. And that's something that the Justice Department here in the United States can't do.
Hey, one final question. You have a pretty good read on your party, where it stands, where it was 8 years ago, where it is now. Very different, of course. Your read on whether this case, these charges, whether they will turn more Republicans off. Not the MAGA base, the Make America Great Again base. We know they are with him in lockstep and always will be, and do not believe any of this is real, that it's all just cooked up and rigged. But for other Republicans, does it turn them off? Does it move them away from Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, obviously, lots of Republicans moved away from Donald Trump between 16 and 20 because people like me turned to Biden and helped him win. But the question now is, will Democrats be able to put up somebody? Is Biden the one that people can get behind again? I would argue he's in a much weaker position than he was 4 years ago. And will Democrats change their horse? That seems unlikely. So the only other way to beat Donald Trump here is for Republicans to pick one other anti-Trump candidate in the Republican Party and put the entire anti-Trump vote behind them. And at this point, it seems like my party's much more destined to repeat the mistake of 2016 2016, where you run 17 or 18 people against him, splinter the vote, give him 40%, and he, proceeds on to be the nominee. And then we'll run into a real constitutional crisis when people have to decide whether someone sitting under indictment for charges as serious as his can be president of the United States, because I think if he's the nominee, he stands a very good chance of winning.
Republican strategist Corey Crowley joining us from Dallas, Texas today. Good to see you, Corey. Much appreciate your insights, as always.
Good to be with you.